Hello, everybody. Welcome back to my channel. Hope you're having a fantastic day. Today, Necrit is going to tell us all about Volibear. So, let's go. Volibear. What do I know about him? I know he has a brother named Orn, who's very fluffy and lovable. He has a sister who I don't know anything about. I need to learn about her. She's a giant frozen eagle or something like that. And he likes to fight a lot. So, yeah, let's go. Do I need subtitles? Probably. I don't know if they help.
So, it turns out what I said in the last video still holds true. I am still a father. But even though I wanted to take the videos lightly to
congratulations.
save some time, Riot dumped out
I don't know
an
how
insane
old
amount
this
of
is,
content,
but congratulations.
which includes a new Bard for TFT, a new Bard for TFT,
Oh,
and
so
a new
cute.
Mordekaiser Bard for TFT.
Oh, so cute.
But we also got the final part of Volibear's story. And we even got a sprinkle of Tryndamere on top of that.
Tryndamere.
And so, because I know
need
people
to
are hyped
learn
for
about him
Volibear,
too.
I decided to push myself a little harder, even though I really don't have any free time now. And I managed to put together a video for the Volibear.
Okay.
So now, without further ado, here is the complete story of Volibear.
Let's go. I'm ready.
Although we know Volibear by many names, such as the Thunder's Roar, the Great Storm, Valier, the Rui, the Thousand-Pierced Bear, or even He Who Stands, which is probably his ancient title, similar to They Who Endure and She Who Wonders. Volibear's real name is a mystery, which only he himself knows. On top of that, even though we call him Volibear, he's actually supposed to be called the Volibear by Morgana.
So, no one knows his real name? Really? Let me know in the comments if you know it.
Because he's more than just a physical demigod. In the north, the Volibear represents unstoppable power and fury of the Freljord itself. It was the Volibear and his demigod brethren who formed the land they called Voriard, long before mortal races arrived. Of course, this means that Voriard is just an ancient...
I just noticed how close Noxus is. They must fight a lot.
...name for Freljord. Legends say that the Volibear created the 5 fjords with one mighty swipe of his claw. Interestingly enough, the story never explains where are the 5 fjords. But if you look at what Freljord looks like now, I think these would be the 5 fjords.
Oh, it looks like a claw mark, yeah.
Besides this,
I see
other legends say how the Volibear fought a savage magma serpent called Rom. During this battle, they created countless volleys and ravines. When the Volibear finally defeated the beast, its blood became the first river in Freljord, and its colossal corpse formed...
Alright, so in the last video I reacted to of Orn's voice lines, he actually talks about how Volibear made the first river and that you didn't want to know how. Okay, I get it now.
The Wormback Mountains. When people started populating Runeterra, and the first tribes started to form in Freljord, wild magic flowed freely, and the Volibear was worshipped by all who wished to gain the strength to survive. Soon, great wars raged, and the Volibear stood beside his followers, wearing rune-inscribed armor, made by his brother Orn, the demigod of the Forge.
What happened?
At that time, the bond between the two brothers was strong, and they often fought at each other's side, even though Orn never had the same lust for battle. But as the Volibear fought more and more, humans gave him more blood offerings, and with it, his power grew. What's interesting is that this part of the story confirms that these primal demigods grow in power the more people worship them.
That makes sense.
As time went on, however, all the different demigods drifted apart, each following their own pursuits. But things got much worse when the era of the Three Sisters arrived.
Oh, yeah.
The Three Sisters wanted to bring order to Freljord.
What's her
but
name?
the demigods couldn't agree on how to deal with them.
Sandra?
A few,
I might be
like
wrong.
Anivia, were willing to work with the sisters.
I need to learn about her.
While the Volibear and a demigod called the Iron Boar wanted to destroy them. And others were just willing to ignore them completely, since these mortal creatures would eventually die like those before them. Unfortunately, it was the Volibear who decided to make the first move.
Of course.
And he looked to the most savage followers he had, known as the Ursine. With them, he would defeat the Three Sisters. And to make it easier, he asked Orn to help him out, by crafting weapons and armor for his new army. Of course, Orn refused, because he did not approve of the Ursine's savage ways. And with that, Volibear torn off the armor his brother made for him.
How it happened?
And a terrible fight erupted between the two demigods. This fight is described in greater detail.
That's
in the
how they
story,
started
The Lost
fighting.
Tales of Orn.
Just because he didn't want to help him.
There was a
One
little
time.
bit more to the
One
reason
time.
why Volibear attacked his brother.
Okay.
For example, Volibear was jealous of Orn's own followers, who worshipped Orn out of their own will. They didn't do it because they had to survive, like was the case with the Volibear.
Oh my god.
They followed Ornn because he was just a great friendly guy. Funnily enough, Ornn never even cared about people worshipping him. And yet, no matter what he was crafting in his forge, he was always surrounded by mortals,
He's a lovable,
watching
huggy
what he was doing
character.
and learning from him. Anyway, the outcome of the great battle...
So, let me get this straight. Volibear... Okay, so... He asked him for help. He said no, and Volibear got mad, and that's how they started fighting. But he's been jealous of him for a very long time. It's sibling rivalry. They're siblings. They're fighting. That's all it is. Oh my gosh. Kind of
the
cute.
destruction of Ornn's mountain, which was called Hearth
Oh,
Home.
he destroyed
and with
his home?
Ornn's people, the Hearthblood, died as well. Fueled by rage,
He destroyed
the
his
Volibear's
people?
full power was now unleashed. And so he approached one of the three sisters, who was trying to seal the power of one of the demigods for herself. And before her entire army, he struck her down, blinding her. As centuries
that's
rolled
how she
by,
became blind.
Despite the Volibear's resistance, people started worshipping the three sisters instead. And soon, instead of facing the raw nature of the Freljord, the mortals started building homes, herding animals, and farming crops. The Volibear roared in fury
Becoming
because
more
this
civilized.
was not his Freljord. The change happened slowly, but over time, the Volibear realized that the tribes had been cut off from the spirit of the land, making them frail and soft. After witnessing this change, the Volibear swore to tear down all evidence of civilization and return the Freljord to its ancient state of true wilderness.
Okay, so if he has worshippers and worshipping him makes him stronger, if he destroys all the civilizations and stuff, would they not worship him anymore? And he gets weaker? Is that what happened?
The people would become strong again, and he would be honored and feared by all. These days, as the thunder roars over the distant mountains, more and more answer its call.
Oh, that's
and
cool
slowly,
looking.
the old ways are being remembered, which means that the Volibear grows stronger with each new follower.
Oh.
Although that is it for Volibear's bio, on Universe you may notice that there are a lot of other stories connected to him. But from these stories, the Tales of Ornn have 5 chapters, and only the last chapter really mentions Volibear. That's the one that described his battle with Ornn. Next, the story called Voice from the Hearth shows us the remains of Ornn's mountain, which again was called Hearth Home.
Destroys his mountain.
That these days, the place is called the Half Mountain
and
of
his
Old
people.
Ornn. And in this story, a local Freljordian tribe witnessed a brief clash between the Volibear and Ornn. So the purpose of the Voice from the Hearth was to show us that the two brothers still fight. But the newest addition to Volibear's lore is the story Stormbringer. And this one is interesting, because as some of you may know, in Udyr's story, when the Ursine call upon the Volibear, they summon the abomination known as the Thousand-Pierced Bear. But the Stormbringer story shows us what happens when you are not one of the Ursine, but you still decide to call upon the Volibear.
Forgot to push K. So the Ursine, he has different forms, and that skeleton one is one of his forms. Am I correct with that? So is it... That's neat. That's terrifying, though. Is it because they're evil, so they summon an evil one? I don't know. That makes no sense. Interesting, though.
The Volibear. They summon the abomination known as the Thousand-Pierced Bear. But the Stormbringer story shows us what happens when you are not one of the Ursine, but you still decide to call upon the Volibear. So now, here's the story called Stormbringer. The story begins with a human shouting out the name Volibear. This name hadn't been spoken aloud in ages, and so when the Volibear heard it, he thought it was just a dream, and he continued his slumber in the snow. But when he heard the words, Volibear, with your name, with this blood, I call upon you, the demigod's eyes flicked open, because he realized it wasn't a dream. The voice came from half a land away, but to the demigod's ears it was clear. With a low growl, as the great bear rose, an avalanche of snow fell from his titanic form. He could smell the blood tribute in the air, and a thrill ran through him. Somewhere,
he got excited. He was like, yay!
His rune. A sacrifice had been made in his name, and he felt the power of that worship infuse his limbs. As the voice continued to call upon his fury and strength, the Volibear's own heart started to beat in time with the distant drums of war. He could even hear the stamping feet, the clashing of blades, and the cries of the dying. All of it called to the body he wore. It called to him. With that, the Volibear roared to the heavens, a sound that touched every living soul in Freljord. Hundreds of miles away, where the sun never rose, a spirit walker woke up screaming, glowing at his face with hands that were twisted into talons. Across the land in a different direction, a pack of Rhymefangs howled, echoing the demigod's cry. And elsewhere, far, far away, a group of tribesmen sitting around fires fell silent, their hearts suddenly thundering. Friends looked at friends with hostile expressions. Blood would be spilled. Meanwhile, the Volibear dropped on all fours, surging forward. Boulders and trees were smashed out of his path as he picked up speed. When next he paused to sniff the air again, he was hundreds of miles away. He was getting close. The storm clouds of his war rage gathered nearby. The next time his name was called, with an earth-shattering impact, the God Bear arrived above the battlefield. Below him, he saw two armies soaked in blood, but one was vastly outnumbered. They were fighting a losing battle. Something smelled wrong about the larger army. Its humans were clad in black iron and fought beneath a red banner. He growled as he realized
they're in trouble.
Freljordians. He bared his teeth and a lightning flashed, sending the charred bodies of both armies flying. Next, the great bear turned towards the voice that kept calling his name. It was a mortal woman clad in fur, her face splattered with gore.
Is it Tryndamil's wife?
Of bloodied axes to the sky in salute. After which she turned towards the battlefield, and she hurled herself at the enemy with renewed vigor. Then the Volibear too faced the enemy, and he charged in, with a roar spoken in an ancient tongue, which shook the heavens themselves. Bones crunched, blood splashed, voices wailed, and in mere moments, the war was over. The enemy turned to run, but the Freljordians, now filled with savage rage of the Volibear, hunted them down like wolves. The Volibear watched the slaughter in satisfaction, blood dripping from his maw.
So they killed every one of them.
The woman who called upon him dropped down to her knee, and she introduced herself as War Mother Wraitha, the Bloodied Hand, and she thanked the Volibear for saving her village. It was only then, after Volibear's rage faded, that he noticed the farms and the houses around him. And when he looked back at the woman, his form grew bigger and bigger as his anger returned. At that point, his body was ready to continue ripping and tearing. A moment later, he shouted at the woman in his forgotten tongue, but when the woman just stared back at him confused, he used the younger, bastardized language which she understood. He told her to rise. Warriors knelt to nobody. After that, he demanded to know what happened to his river. It was blocked by a dam, which was something the Freljordians clearly built. The power of the river was supposed to flow freely. To hold it back was an abomination. The Volibear stomped past the woman, and with a roar, he tore down the stones and freed the waters. Now the river was thundering as it was meant to be.
Wouldn't that kill all the people in the villages? What?
Volibear watched in satisfaction as the natural force grew, and the waters demolished entire settlements beneath. With all evidence of civilization
just killed a bunch of people.
He turned towards the Freljordians. He could taste their fear as he told them that today they were free, and he commanded them to live wild, hunt, kill, and honor the old ways, so that the old ways could honor them. War Mother Wraitha stood tall now, nodding. The Volibear knew she had the spirit of a true warrior, and that others would follow her. The Volibear then nodded back, and he returned to the horizon.
Interesting.
And that was the complete story of Volibear. In the Stormbringer story, it was interesting to see that the Volibear that woke up wasn't like the one the Ursine summoned.
Yeah, I thought that was weird.
Didn't really describe his appearance.
So how many different appearances does he have?
The fact that the Volibear spoke to the Freljordians with a sense of purpose is way different from the Volibear the Ursine summoned, where he just wanted to destroy and consume life. Also, in this story,
promise a battle slaughter must have out in the time of the war. It called to the body he wore. It called to him. Oh. Yeah, I thought that was worded weird.
It was mentioned that they called to his current form. This might have been just a random word, but it surely is suspicious. This really feeds the theory that the Volibear is the warrior spirit of Freljord, and depending on who summons him, and with what purpose, The Volibear can take different forms.
I was assuming...
Even the bio mentioned that the Volibear is destruction, strength, and storm made manifest, and that he represents the fury of the Freljord. So even that fits in.
Yeah.
Maybe the Volibear really is just a force in Freljord, and the bear, depending on how he is summoned, is the force made manifest. With
Interesting.
That said,
that's terrifying, by the way. That creature right there is terrifying. I was assuming that he would he had so many people worshiping him, so he got really powerful, and the power made him go kind of crazy at the story, but I don't think so. I think I was wrong.
Since we are talking about godly powers that shape the very lands of Freljord, perhaps it is fine if
Terrifying.
we don't know all the details.
Are those
of how
eyes
the Volibear
on him?
Works.
My gosh.
Sometimes a good godly mystery can be turned into something great later on. For example,
immovable?
since the new little legends have descriptions
Wendigo.
that mention real places
That's the
of
Wendigo.
Runeterra, the question of can this bardeer be
Wait. I don't know, but that's adorable. Who is that? What is that? I love it.
canon is a great mystery.
A cannon. He is terrifying. Volibear is terrifying, but he has some really awesome music. Alright, that's good. That was very interesting. I learned a lot from that. I need to go react to Orange. I'm pretty sure Necrit did a video about him too. I need to go react to that. Also, I'm thinking about my next person I'm going to react to is Trendamere and his wife. And I want to look at their voice lines and their story and everything. Alright, that was cool. Alright guys, so that was my reaction to Volibear's story. Let me know what you thought about in the comments below. And if you're new, please like, subscribe, and the bell for notification. Thank you all so much for watching. You have a good day or night. Bye-bye.